Welcome. I'm Kinetic Symphony. I hunt down and report on weird and true mysterious stories, from glitches to the paranormal. Would you like even more content? Here's my Patreon. Now onto the stories. Case file number 1302, written by Cats Are Cool 0, The Crossroads, where space-time flows differently. So this happened about 5 to 6 years ago. I was driving around with my 3 other friends. I was in the back passenger side seat. No one was drunk or high. We were driving around in a neighboring town to our hometown, which we were all still quite familiar with, while looking for something to do, just talking and listening to music. When suddenly, we pull up to an intersection and none of us knows where we are. We had realized we were about a half hour away from where we previously were after driving around a bit to get our bearings. The same song was playing on the radio and hadn't been skipped, and none of us, including the driver, had any recollection of how we got there. A few years later, I was driving in the city that we had gotten teleported to with some family members when I saw the intersection we had stopped at. After begging my mother to go down that road, it led us to a dead end. Anyway, what the hell? Thank you for listening, that's all. Question file 1302. The Crossroads, where space-time flows differently. Isn't it weird how these portals sometimes just appear out of nowhere? In some cases, they seem so tailored, like the person who was not abducted, just ported back in front of their building, almost like a time reset, but time still had passed, so it was just a space portal right in front of their building. There's no way that's an accident. The odds would be like 100 zeros after the 1. Impossible for that to be a coincidence. But then you get cases like this, which are entirely random. So is this a case of like, there already are natural phenomena where there's space-time portals pocketed about, and also people or governments or aliens, some entity that has the ability to create tailor-made portals that can link two locations precisely, definitively. It seems to be the case, because sometimes they're random and sometimes they're ultra-specified. The only good thing I can say about this is that I haven't heard of it. I mean, I guess you would never hear about it because, actually, just thinking about it now, what if space-time portals often are related to missing 411 cases, where people are being ported around to random locations, sometimes maybe inside the planet? And of course, if you're ported into the planet, there's no escaping. It's not like the core, where you have a shell made of vibranium, unobtainium, or something that is stronger with pressure. No. And like a giant laser that can penetrate to the core. No. If you're in your car and you're ported into the core of the planet, you're just dead. You are instantly converted into materials. So yeah, it's possible that sometimes these portals go awry. Creepy file number 122, written by CauctusBUTT. The Night We'll Never Forget. Not really home alone, but when I was little, I remember as my dad was taking us to bed, I ran up first to sneak behind my bedroom door. The plan was to jump out and scare my brother before bed, as my bedroom was just opposite the bathroom, and he had to walk past it to get to his room. However, behind the bedroom door were 2 strange men hiding. One had a beard and long hair. The other I don't clearly remember, but think he was very skinny. The guy with long hair whispered to me to go away. So I calmly went away and slept with my dad. Mom was working nights, and this wasn't uncommon for me, so he never questioned it. I was rightly spooked, and I didn't want to be up on my own, but didn't tell my dad what I saw as I was petrified inside. Straight up thought I'd been told off by some creepy ghost. We were robbed that night. My brother also woke up that night to go to the bathroom and saw the downstairs light on from the staircase. At the time, he thought it was our mother, and would normally, if he got up early, run down and see her. For some reason, he didn't go downstairs that night and instead hopped up in bed with me and our dad too. When my mom came home, the downstairs was trashed and she was terrified something happened to us. She ran up the stairs in a panic and found all of us in bed safe and sound. Home insurance was able to salvage most of the losses, and we get a dog not long after that as a deterrent for thieves, which grew up never having another issue again. So I guess it's not really unexplainable, but a strange and scary story nevertheless. Case notes for the creepy file number 122. The Night We'll Never Forget. You know, this is so disturbing. Because these are real people. I don't think these were spirits. I think these really were just thieves that broke in. At least they didn't cause like physical harm. They saw this kid and didn't want to scare the kid or, harm the kid and didn't want to harm your dad. They just wanted to take your stuff. Not that that's a good thing, but at least there was no physical harm. But I can't even imagine how terrifying that'd be. I'm lucky in that my whole life I've never, I've had my bike stolen, but never like anyone breaking into a home. You can never feel safe again in your home, right? If that happens to you, it's such a violation. I don't even know if thieves understand how much of a violation that is. I wish people wouldn't do that, Respect other people's property as you want your own property to be respected. Pretty simple, even when you're desperate. Bonus file written by RealQuickNope. The day my vertigo foretold of a family tragedy. A little over 10 years ago, I was getting ready for work around 6 a.m. and as I got out of the shower, I was hit with intense vertigo. So bad I actually fell to my knees and had to hold onto the bed to stop from falling over. I had never had vertigo in my life. Former gymnast and avid roller coaster rider. Until this point. It took me about 30 seconds to a minute before it went away, and when I stood up, it was like nothing had ever happened. Very odd. Went to work as usual, other than thinking, that was bizarre. The morning started normally. About half an hour into work, around 7:30, my phone rings and it's my dad. He knows I'm at work and he never calls while I'm working unless it's an emergency, so I knew whatever he was about to tell me wasn't good. He tells me that my aunt, his sister, who was a second mother to me, had a massive heart attack in bed this morning, that the EMTs couldn't save her and she passed away. She died at exactly the time I had my intense bout of vertigo. As a child, I had another weird thing happen. I was about 9 or 10 and woke up out of a dead sleep at 3 a.m. to get a drink of water. This was extremely uncommon for me as a child, as I slept like I was drugged and usually for 12 to 14 hours at a clip. I never woke up in the night, but tonight I did. I got a drink, peed, then went back to bed. Before I could fall back asleep, our house phone rang. It was the hospital. My grandfather had a massive heart attack and was in the ER. And we needed to get there because they didn't think he'd make it. He survived and lived another 20 years, but later learned that he'd been clinically dead for nearly a minute, and the only way they brought him back was a nurse was literally straddling him and punching him in the chest. She bruised and broke multiple ribs, but he survived, needed a triple bypass, and to quit the pack-a-day of red habit. Again, my grandfather and I were very close. And I was his only grandchild until about 2 years after this event, and I saw him daily, and I woke up at the exact time he died in the ER. These experiences are why I have a strong belief that when we go, there's more to it. I swear I felt them shuffling off this mortal coil. I have no other explanation. Okay, so that's for the bonus file. The day my vertigo foretold of a family tragedy. It really is that deep quantum connection. I think it's quantized. It's something at the fundamental layer of reality that you can link particles together. We know that. Maybe it's not a whole bundle of like our entire brain is linked to someone else. Maybe it is the soul that is linked. Whatever animates us to be alive, to be sentient, self-aware, can be linked between other people, other souls, to such an extent that you will experience physical pain or, in your case, vertigo, lightheadedness, if something happens to them. I just wish I understood how that link formed. Is it simply proximity or thinking hard about them for a long period of time, a lot of time? Or is it something related to emotion? You have to truly care about them deep down for that connection to form. I think it is proximity, but not just to form the bond. You can have proximity, form a strong bond, and then separate, and the link persists. It seems to. You have cases where people have this feeling, this pain by proxy, even separated by countries. So proxy is only necessary to form the connection, I think. Beyond that, strong emotions and everything. So if you have someone you care about, really think hard about them. Let those emotions flow, because then you'll be bonded to such an extent that you can save them, potentially, like you did with your grandfather. Man, that's amazing. And now time for the quote of the day. Knowledge is power. Sir Francis Bacon. This is the shortest quote I've ever had, but yes, knowledge is power, and it's exactly what I'm trying to do with this channel. To infuse knowledge of the whole multiverse into people's minds. And it's not always exactly clear on all the specifics. There's a lot of things that are unclear, like DOP, where an object comes into the universe, but sometimes creates a sound effect to boom with the air pressure, sometimes doesn't. There's oddities that aren't fully explained yet, but to me it's fascinating and empowering is really the correct word. The more you know, the less there is to fear. And of course, like the other quote, Albert Einstein, you want to have some mystery left, so you don't want to know everything. It's that constant pursuit of knowledge and clearing away the mystery, only to hopefully have more mysteries pop up and have the cycle continue. That's life, and it's great. Like the video, subscribe, hit the bell. Kinetic Symphony signing off.